Hi guys, welcome to today's video. Today we have a ranking of the very popular Netflix series Big Mouth. Coming in at 4th place we have the newly released Season 4. Just like all the seasons, it tackles really important subjects which are heavily involved in today's life, whether that's for you, for people you know, or just what you see on social media or in the news. No matter how weird things can get, how random, or if it's used for comedic effect, they are always trying to send a positive message. Amongst those things, there's people who are struggling to come out as either transgender or gay, people suffering with anxiety, or either different things like people changing who they are just so that a certain person would like them. Really brings things like this to our attention so we can be aware that if people are going through the same struggle, that we can be there to support them. The characters once again are great. We get some new characters, my favorite of the new ones being Seth Rogen coming in. I believe he also plays another guy called Seth, which is maybe a bit lazy, but who cares. We get Seth Rogen, and somehow I hadn't seen it before this season, but Lola and Jay make a perfect couple. They're great. They're both so weird, have their problems that they just work together really well. They truly are a great match. Although this season is very messy, you could argue that that's the intention for the whole show, but this one's extra messy. The plot doesn't seem like it has as much of a direct vision as other seasons have. There's a lot of big things covered just for one episode's purpose, which seemed like just to fill up the 10 episodes they had for that season. And I really do love this show, but those things were kind of annoying to see. Wish they were prioritized more instead of just covering them for an episode and then having one scene to acknowledge them in the finale or whatever. So as much as I love this show, I was a tad bit disappointed with this one, although still good, just a little bit of disappointment in there, although very entertaining. Coming in at 3rd place we have Season 1. This was obviously the one to start off this whole show, and they've done it in a great way. It takes some adjusting to this weird concept, this metaphorical concept of how puberty is explained, but I think it does a really good job. It has convincing, likable characters who get plenty of time to develop throughout this season. They've devoted a lot of time to each of these main characters, and just the humor is brilliant, mainly from Maury, the hormone monster, who we learn to know just like all these other characters. I have to give big credit to Nick Kroll. He wrote the majority of the episodes for this whole show, not just this season, and he also voices, I believe, over 40 characters, main ones including Nick, Maury, Lola, yes, Lola the girl, Coach Steve, just to name a few. Although it was a brilliant season, it also left a lot of room for improvement. Not to say that this season's bad in any way, just there was a lot of room to make this show even greater. As you can tell, I guess they have, since this one's this low down on this list. Coming in at 2nd place we have Season 3. This is just another great, engaging series full of great plot lines. It's a season filled with jealousy, friends breaking up or ruining their relationships, and even some conflicts between boys and girls. And not to mention, it actually tackles very well some more serious matters. I won't go into it too much as it's spoiler, but it involves a teacher, so if you've seen it you know what I'm talking about. Things left off in Season 2 for an interesting start to this season, but before the season started they did release a Valentine's Day special, which I'm going to include as part of Season 3, which just made this season have that extra bit of intrigue to it, a whole thing that plays into that. So if you haven't seen the Valentine's Day special, I suggest you watch that before watching Season 3. And now that they're 3 seasons in, you know, the people who were unsure about the show or found it controversial, they wouldn't be watching by now. So they just went for it with the crude humor. They did everything as much as possible to make you uncomfortable, whether that's extra crude humor, more nudity. Had me very uncomfortable at times, just to mention that this is an animated show, so that's quite a hard thing to do. Coach Steve had a great plot line throughout this whole season, which included some cool cameos. They weren't as cool as to me because I'm not too familiar, but I'm sure for some people they are. Just overall this season, it doesn't have one main thing overall which stood out, just certain things that you pick out which are great, and one of those is the character arc for Jay. You know, he gets a lot more development in this season. We always thought he was just a punchline of a joke or just there for comic relief, which I guess he is, but we got to see a more human side. I mean, he's a bit weird, but yeah, we still got a better look into him, and that was very necessary for this show to grow, which I thought was great. But coming in at first place, we have Season 2. I feel like in all my rankings, Season 2 always seems to be either in second place or first place. But yeah, I said that Season 1 left a lot of room for this to improve upon this show, and that's what Season 2 did. You know, the humor is funnier, the weird elements are weirder, just everything was so random about this season. But once again, if you look further into it, it does make more sense. Although it happened in Season 1, this season took it by the reins and made this more of a hilarious season by using self-referenced comedy and breaking the fourth wall, whether that's to talk about Netflix or their own show. I just found it all great. Sometimes it can take a break from all the hormone monster stuff and really focus on more realistic problems. I'm not saying that struggles with puberty aren't realistic, of course they are, but you know, that happens to a lot of people, whereas some things which are a lot rarer but maybe more of a problem, as you can't just grow out of it, is problems with your family, and that's what Jesse goes through in this season. We have some interesting things which make that much of a bigger deal, and they dealt with it very well in this season. And just overall, that ties in with a great plot line, which just makes a great season of this show. So there is my ranking of 4 seasons of Big Mouth. On screen, I'm going to leave up my ranking again side by side, and you can compare my ratings I give for each season to kind of determine how much of a quality gap there is between each of these seasons. Not a huge amount, so this is a very good show and quite educational. You know, there are some things that schools don't want to cover, as it's maybe a bit of an awkward subject even when they should cover it, even though it's full of crude stuff which aren't necessary towards that education. It gets that result in the end. I would recommend it just for the pure entertainment, but also if you want to maybe learn a thing or two, maybe this is the show for you. So yeah, thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Please let me know what your ranking would be of Big Mouth, and I hope to see you in my next video.